Good morning. Well, here I am again, not knowing exactly what I have to say. And who knows? Maybe one day I will integrate that, whatever I am and whatever that is. But meanwhile, it just flows through. Okay. And it's been interesting the way it has been integrating and merging more and more with my life. Once upon a time, I really couldn't tune into this flow unless I had pencil in hand and I was writing. And I recognized, and I've said this before, I recognized the sacredness of the flow. And so once I began to start taping, recording those journals, I wouldn't change anything except maybe to correct a spelling. But I've come a long way since then in a very short time, because now I freely edit on the fly. And also I find that there aren't such blocks and limits to this tuning in to divinity, higher self, source, whatever it is. I don't have to have a pencil in hand. I don't have to have the camera on. It's more and more accessible if I will just get out of the mind. I was noticing this morning, once again, the addiction we have to our electronics. And even though I don't have the standard panoply that most people have, having no television and no cell phone, not even a cordless, still, the internet is there, and I take great joy in it, and the sharing that I do through it, and what I learn from it, and so on and so on and so on. And so the temptation is, as soon as I come to the computer, to connect to the internet. And yet I hesitate, because for years I had, actually, not so long, maybe just a couple of years, I learned that, gosh, I don't remember anymore. Memory's not my strong suit these days. But anyway, mornings were sacred. And before I would get into any kind of a routine, I would pray and meditate, do some readings, and journal. Not in that order. And it was always magical, always. And I've gotten away from that. Things are constantly morphing and changing, and I'm very agreeable with that. I like to hold things lightly, hold everything lightly. My thoughts, my attitudes, beliefs, my habits, my, routine, so that I'm flexible and willing to go where I'm led. And I take great joy in that. There's serendipity everywhere, synchronicities, and it's just been a really blessed time. But I noticed, as I have dropped all routine and the structured aspects of my life have fallen away, something else that's fallen is to discipline myself not to be all the time connected to the internet. And the last few mornings, I've been holding back making that connection, and I found that there's a blessing there that I haven't been choosing to partake of. It's not something that's absent at other times, that's absent when I connect to the internet. But I think what happens is this blessing of this flow is available to us when, well, number one, when we're not in the mind, when we're not in our routine, unless it's a sacred routine where we're directly pursuing that. And when we're not connected to something electronically, I guess it's really a fact that science will uncover, or maybe it already knows and just isn't sharing with us. They have a lot that's like that. That the electronic signature of these appliances, these things, these wireless modems, and just the cell phones, all of it, the television, is really inimical to life, is really short-circuiting of our energy force field. It makes it harder for us to connect with, to pursue, to be who I am, who you are, who we are. A lot of our 3D play or schoolroom that we're in here has been structured that way, and intentionally, at some level or another, to keep us apart from our inner self, our higher self, our deeper awareness of consciousness and of being. And instead of getting angry with it and kicking against the pricks and all of that kind of thing, why not look at it in a positive light? We came in here intentionally. We knew what we were getting into. We're not babes in the woods, not if you're listening to these videos. You wouldn't have the patience for it. It wouldn't connect with you if you weren't a certain way along the path of waking up. So this is what we needed to really spur us, to really kick us into high gear. And also the sheep on the hills, if you will, you know, that's how it's referred to in the Bible. There are so many that would never wake up if things didn't get so darn miserable that they couldn't just continue to ignore the existing conditions anymore. And so this is needed. This is what's necessary. And so sure, we want to do something about it. Sure we do. But on the other hand, let's not feel put upon. What I discovered in myself, and I continue to discover, is victimization. You don't realize how deep this goes and how subtle it is. It's like a snake. Now, is a snake subtle? I guess it is. You don't hear it slithering around. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. We feel put upon. If you feel put upon by anything in life, whether it's relationships or, you know, what's in your bank account or what's not there, or circumstance of any kind, or the political scene, or the race thing, or gender, any of it, if you feel put upon, you're playing the victim there. We all do it. We've been trained this way, and it's ugly, and it's subtle, and it pits us against one another too, because if you're playing the victim, then you've attracted an oppressor, because the victim and the oppressor are the Tai Chi of that, are the yin yang of that, and you don't have one without the other. And to the extent that we have the victim consciousness, then we attract to us. We do. We magnetize the oppressor. And so the dance continues. Well, we don't have to play that game. We don't have to do that dance. But it requires the seeing of where is it that we're feeling put upon. If we are not just absolutely joyful with life and everything in it, I suggest we've still got some victim consciousness to excavate out. All right? And it's not a pleasant thing to find. And so we've also been trained not to look at the pleasant things, unpleasant things, certainly not to look for them in the self. I mean, the tendency is to want to objectify it, and so we project it out on life. You know, we blame. Pointing the finger of blame is also an indication of victim consciousness in action. Blame is just such a senseless thing. And once we're in heart, all judgment and all blame, along with all fear, they vanish so thoroughly. It's crazy, you know. And you get in there, and then you've got the contrast of being in there where those things don't exist, and yet being aware of what your regular everyday consciousness tends to be like. And so that's one way to get a better look at these kind of things. Because if you're trying to do this work from in the mind, your perspective isn't deep enough. The depth perception isn't there, and it's required to see this because these things are buried pretty deep. And that's a part of the whole scheme of things as well. I mean, come on. If we're these Patal, these founders, these creator gods that have come down from 11th density here, we had to set it up to where it was pretty darn challenging, don't you think? Otherwise, it would have been boring. Not really, but anyway, it's a thought. It's fun to play with such concepts. All right, now there was something else I thought I might like to share. But you know, it's interesting. The flow just stops. And so does the video. Have a great day. See you again soon.